All right, there we go. So thank you, Gately, for meeting with us. Me and Lisa have had a chance to go over the A2 item analysis, which was very helpful for me, and then your data plan. What were your thoughts in terms of progress on your end from A1 to A2?
I saw huge progress in multiplication, but I felt like I spent a long time reteaching from A1 to A2. So I saw a lot of progress on the A1 material, but coming to A2, I didn't feel like I covered as much because I spent so much time reteaching material that was within the first standard. Mm-hmm. I mean, which was in the first interim. Mm-hmm.
What was the standard that you were prioritizing for A1?
Multiplication.
Just one?
Yeah. Okay. That was huge because it was a disaster the first time. Okay. Just huge pieces were missing, I felt like. So I saw a lot of progress with that. And then also 2-digit by 2-digit and 3-digit by 1-digit. Okay. So it wasn't just multiplication facts. And I saw a lot of progress there. Then as far as A2 is with division, I felt like I pushed it a little too fast because we missed so many days, especially with the snow. So I felt like I really pushed it fast, but some scholars were great, but then certain ones weren't so great.
Is that still like learning the process of ANET? Do you think it's still like feeling it out, particularly with having to spend some of your time reteaching, or a lot of your time reteaching?
Yeah.
And then we did miss those days, obviously, so that threw a wrench into things.
I think I spent a lot of time reteaching multiplication just as a whole, because I went into it thinking they knew more than they did, to be honest. Even just simple facts that were just missing completely.
I'm just pulling up ANET, that's all I'm doing, just to see those.
So with the A1, within the first interim, the multiplication facts weren't on there because it was a mass content, I think. Yeah. But that was definitely a huge piece that was missing. So kind of going back just to multiplication, just 1 through 12 facts, then going back and doing the 3-digit by 1-digit and 2-digit by 2-digit. That took a long time for me to feel comfortable moving on to division.
Yeah.
And would you say at this point 100% of scholars are able to move on from those multiplication points?
No.
Okay.
Yes and no. I think a few of them definitely need a review of them. They need to continue practicing them because even though I think they did well with multiplication, some of them still just don't have the fluency in their multiplication facts. Okay. So it's making both multi-step within multiplication and division a slow process for them. And I can see the frustration, and they're kind of just writing stuff down to get through problems when I know it goes back to their facts.
And for the scholars that were identified for that analysis, do you think that is where the struggle still is, or something different?
No, it's just multiplication facts.
Okay.
And all 4 I've given flashcards to. The first scholar, it's just with his attention issues, it just depends on the day or what's going on within the class, because sometimes he is just spot on, other times, like today, very, very off with just even simple multiplication facts.
Yeah, I mean, so that's 7 out of 13. 2 more problems right, and he's got a 70.
Given what we know about his learning challenges, his IEP, his modified work, he's clearly making progress in the right direction.
We'll get back to it, but this is the one I want to focus on.
Yeah.
I guess him too, but that one, I don't know why it struck me.
Well, the only reason I was looking, because I had asked Brian for the last A1, it seemed like it was the same 4 scholars that were struggling.
Yeah, and this one is at a hole in every subject. just, I don't know what's going on. I'm looking forward to the meeting because across the board, homework is not being done. Across the board, there's excuses. Today when I went to check the homework, all of a sudden there was a stomach ache and I had to go home.
Was she in our last year?
Yeah.
Big drop off from the first term, so I'm really looking forward to kind of sitting down. I hear a lot about even, my mom said I didn't have to do this. My mom said that I didn't get it, so I didn't have to try it. So I'm really looking forward to sitting down with Mom and talking a lot about that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think that that's an issue with multiplication facts. There's no homework being done.
Well, I think that's the good thing if we can like reset and go back to you're now in it, and sometimes it's hard when you're in it to be like take a step back and look at the big picture because you've been now teaching multiplication for half of the year and shorter division. But going back to like there are three main focuses of grade 4, and this is one of them, like developing fluency and understanding around multiplication and division facts, and then we bring in fractions, and then we bring in geometry to those concepts. So we have to get this before, and these are the bigger of those three. This is the first one. This is the biggest one, so it should get the most time. So you shouldn't feel like you've spent too much time on it. This is kind of what we expected, particularly with their struggles from third grade now carrying over. So we're exactly where we thought we would be. We need to improve, but where we are where we thought we would be.
Okay, all right, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, I think what's incredibly important, and I think this stems from the work in A1, is that you understood that they're getting basic algorithms, which tends to be a memorization or repetition thing. So we can expect fourth graders to do better on standard algorithms than we can when we ask conceptual understanding. And you reference that, which is great. You also have some ways to approach that with center-based learning, which I think you've been doing a good job on. So that's something we come into most meetings wanting to discuss, but you put that very clearly into your plan. I'm interested in the word problems and choosing the correct operations. I'm wondering how you think we can combat scholars not knowing what they're supposed to do or not recognizing kind of what's being asked of them.
And I think part of that is, like, when I went into teaching division, it was mostly number-based. So I think just really learning how to, as a whole, even if I ask them to do anything, never instructions are read. It's just the process of reading what's in front of you and what they're really asking and actually thinking about it, not just looking at the numbers and doing an operation. Yeah. And I think that they struggle with that, no matter math, no matter what is given to them, reading what's being asked and actually thinking about it. So
have you guys worked on like marking up the text for word problems?
Not really. I haven't really gone into as many word problems as I would have liked to.
We have another surprise for you besides filming this.
No.
So we're working with a startup company who created an app called QThink.
Okay.
And you and Will are going to be piloting that. And essentially what it is a word problem-based math app which has 4 steps which the textbook goes through, which are like read, understand, plan, solve, check.
Nice.
But what the app does is, one, it provides to you like a ton of standard-based questions that you can align to, so you're not doing more work than you need to, because we don't want that, obviously. But I think that what you're saying is, rather than you sit here and try to like say, hey, read the directions, this app is going to slow them down to the point where they have to like meet a certain criteria to reading and writing something and understanding something and highlighting something to move on to the next step. They don't have the choice to just write an answer based on this app.
Do we know when that will launch?
Yeah, you and Will should have either someone coming here to train you on a free period or a webinar in the next week.
Cool.
We were trying to get it for one of these, Tuesday or Thursday. I don't know if that will work out. Probably not tomorrow.
That was a network through Jade's mom.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so she knew of this startup company, and they came and we met. I don't know if you, it was me and Tabitha.
But she told me about it on Friday, yes.
And so it's going to be a trial period for third term, and we're basically
Nice.
they're going to provide you like a coaching model and feedback and help and support with the app. So you and Will have that, and I think that those are the 4th through 6th grade now are the biggest kind of holes in problem-solving ability, because they're now into higher level information, and it's expected by that age that they have like some ability to decode a word problem. And if you're saying they're struggling with that, then hopefully that will counter that. So that will be one tool that you have moving towards A3. You won't have it for the retest Friday, but
That'll be huge.
so that should make that process a little easier, and that combined with center-based conceptual learning, and that's also conceptual. That will build in some conceptual understanding.
Do you know, is the
So I think
app
those
something that can connect home to school, or is it just for like classroom use?
I believe that it can be used outside of school.
Okay.
I think it's very similar to Edmodo, where if Courtney created a class group, then they would have an individual login number that she provided, and then she could assign problems and they could work on them kind of at their leisure.
Okay.
I think it will start in class, but absolutely can extend beyond that, as you feel more comfortable with the
that
app.
would be really cool to be able to sign that for home.
It also gets us to like the models from other countries that you hear of, like, let's spend 40 minutes on one problem. I think that will slow them down, and they really have to think about every step. So I think that it will be helpful, particularly for that problem. One question I had: you had 4MD3 on here, but that wasn't on A2.
I think it was on.
So is that from A1?
I think it's from A1.
Okay.
Like,
and
just
it's
not
still-
kind of
Which one
looking.
is it?
You know what?
4MD3.
Yeah.
Okay, area and perimeter. So that's just still glaring from
Yeah.
A1.
Just because, like, it's for A1, but when I was looking at, like, some of the questions based on that, it was really, I felt like more division. So they instantly would look at it and kind of shut down. So I'm thinking now that they have the knowledge of division, I think being able to do these problems, it will be easier to teach and them to understand.
Yeah, because a lot of the problems worked backwards, so it did create division for
And
those
they just
problems.
weren't getting
And they
that
had-
at all. So I'm hoping to kind of go back and now show them those problems.
Okay.
Now that I feel like I've built that conceptual knowledge on both multiplication and division.
Yeah, because I mean, with those two are essentially outliers, right? I mean, if we judge on the 50th percentile, which we don't want to be at, but it is like a bar, then you have 16 kids, so you have 13 above that, and then one who's like a tick away.
Yeah. This shocked me, to be honest. I don't know what happened here.
Is that?
I mean, from A1 also didn't do very well, but when homework and one-on-one instruction, and I thought he was a huge improvement. So I was shocked on this. But again, maybe he's getting a lot of, I don't know, support from home, so that's why his homework's always 100% correct, and some of the classwork. I thought he was doing excellent, especially in multiplication, but then looking at that A2 test, I was shocked from some of,
I was like, Ryan, I can do that in my head.
I was
but
shocked
can't.
about how poorly he did on it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think
So,
like...
yeah, he got 45 the first time.
And it goes back to multiplication for him.
But I think, I mean, if we have this scholar pegged as someone who's struggling across the board, there might be an underlying math issue there, but we can at least say there's a bigger problem going on.
Absolutely. I think so.
And then these two are in a position where they have some knowledge and they've shown some success, whether it's a little more or a little less than on A1, they're absolutely getting some of the material.
Yeah.
Is Max taking this with the whole class or by himself?
With the whole class.
Okay.
So I wonder if he was by himself.
I wonder if he came down to the office to take, because that is in his IEP.
Well,
As an option.
I think him too. If you're saying that he's showing one-on-one success and at home he's doing work, then even on Friday when we do the retest, I'm happy, or I'm
To
sure
pull,
Lisa
yeah.
or whoever can pull these guys up.
Okay.
Definitely him, just to
Yeah.
give him a fair shot, and that will maybe ease your attention.
Then I go
more.
back and will he just get absolutely? Will he shut down absolutely if it's not me going over with him?
It could be. I talked to Michael about that, and he had the same thought about some of his scholars who he thinks the comfort level will
Impact.
impact the grade. If you think that's the case and you're the expert here, let's work out a time where we can get you coverage, and
Okay.
he can hang out with Mr. Knapp or Miss McCarthy during your actual test,
Okay,
or
yeah.
one of us,
Yeah.
and then you can give him the test one-on-one at another time.
Okay.
And if it can't work Friday, then we can obviously push that to Monday.
Yeah.
Sometime
I think
where
that
you
might
can.
be.
I think it will be
Because
as well.
Michael, me and Michael discussed that exact same thing, because he has kind of broader, if broader is a word, groups of kind of levels, but I think because of the class size. But a couple of his scholars, he's looking to give them a chance in small group or one-on-one, particularly because he reads the test to them as well, and that changes the dynamic. But yeah, so that's absolutely a plan, and it can be a plan for any of your scholars. So if you, that's what we're trying to get at here. I mean, though you know better than I can look at this data, and I can, do anything that I can with your raw data, and then your little bit of insight. But you're going to know best if he does better in the morning or in the afternoon, or if he does better with you versus me. And I think that's where we want to plan for. If it's 16 separate plans, let's do that until we can get them on track to show some improvement. Because school-wide we're showing improvement, and now it's about teachers are getting comfortable with ANET, and scholars are getting more comfortable with ANET, and now it's those little outliers, which are here to find a plan that works for them. And I think it can be done easily enough if we just communicate
And with this one, I wonder if it's wording as well.
And I know it was discouraging to you because when you were celebrating the fact that a large percentage of your class was, so I know that was discouraging for you as well, and I don't want it to be.
Yeah, I was shocked with some of them. But I'm wondering with wording, because sometimes with him, no matter what subject we're talking about, if I break it down a little bit further, he picks it up.
Yeah.
But so it might be some of the questions where they're wording. So
How would they work together if you gave the test to them at a separate time?
Could be either great or horrendous. I don't know. It all depends on the day. I mean, best of friends are worst of enemies, so it all depends on what happened that day, or
So
if they somehow
Yes.
text each other on their iPads the night before.
All right, let's do
Separate.
we'll just do separate.
I would feel comfortable with him taking it with the group, and since I wouldn't have to do 100% here, it would leave me time to just check in here.
Okay.
Because when I do any test, it's 100% here.
Okay.
Except quickly checking in with others.
Yep.
But without having to administer here, I would have time to kind of walk around and check in a little bit more.
So let's get that
yes.
one out for a one-on-one time, either with you or I'm happy to work with them, but if the comfort level is probably best with you, let's just plan a different time, and it can be us finding coverage for you, or it can be a regular
Yeah, I
period.
would be more than happy to come up here and cover your class so that you could do that.
Okay, or I mean, even I'm trying to think if it's like a special or something.
I looked, you have a special at the end of the day on Friday, right?
Yep, I have. Well, he's first, so I could pull him out for.
I just worry about giving a kid a test on a Friday at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't know how that will affect, some scholars, it's business as usual. Some scholars are ready for the weekend,
it might be okay, because it really doesn't, you never know.
Okay.
It could be perfect.
So take some time, I guess, to think maybe tonight,
Okay.
because we're going to do the test on Friday, and email us or text us and let us know if you want an individual plan. Like if you think these three are going to be part of the group and we'll find something to do with this one,
Yeah,
let's do that.
okay.
And we'll take whatever you think in terms of knowing your scholars best. So I've asked this to every teacher, and I've got the same response from every teacher. So hopefully you fall into that category. Do you think that your scholars will show improvement on Friday?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Every scholar?
I'm hoping. I'm really hoping.
Did I read in here, what are you doing for checks for understanding? Did I read that you're doing do now problems?
In centers especially. So do now problems, I do A-net problems.
Perfect.
So we review those. We usually somehow review them depending on the morning. In the morning, then also homework problems along those same lines. Centers, I've broken them down a little bit easier, so each is a little easier. I mean, I'll do like puzzles where they'll have to kind of they'll have to do the problem and then find the answer and create the puzzle that kind of matches. I have like task cards, same different type of things with all different types of problems. Fact families, more problems. And I actually really like this one, error analysis. So they have to look at the problem, they have to find the error, they have to redo it, and then they have to identify and explain the error. So this is really been helping me see if they can actually explain, especially in words, what the problem is.
Where did you find this?
Could be Teachers Pay Teachers.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a series of all different problems. And they broke them down. So I think there's 6 different problems. So they have to look at it, they have to again redo it, identify the problem, and share the strategy. Like, did you redo the problem first? Did you identify the error first? What exactly is happening here? So that's really helping me really assess their conceptual knowledge and if they actually understand.
Yeah, and I think going back to what I asked and you saying you hope that they'll do better. I think our goal, your goal as a teacher, my goal as a math coach, is that we are almost definite. I mean, there's always obviously some room for, a given day throwing a curveball at us.
Yeah.
But I think generally, you should have a pretty good idea. You don't go into many tests thinking Scholar A is going to get 100 and he gets a 10. Or Scholar B is going to get a 10 and he gets 100. Right? There's obviously some room for error, but really wanting to know the scholars and say, this Friday I know that we struggled on, finding an error, so that's 1 or 2 problems on this test. And I think that's where understanding our own data, you have a really good sense based on your data plan as to how to correct those errors. And I think that's something that you can share with the other teachers doing this, because I think it's powerful to say there's more than just a number to this data, and that's why you guys have the power here. I said, I love this. I love looking at this data. It makes me excited to read these plans and look at item analysis. But it's all I get, right?
Yeah.
I just get that number, and I can see growth, or I can see regression. But I think sitting down and saying with each scholar, which sounds like a lot of work, but looking at their test and saying, oh, this is the mistake that he or she made every time. How can I correct that with that one scholar? Rather than everything always being, oh, the kids didn't do that well in multiplication, so I'm going to teach 16 kids multiplication for another week. And I think that's where we'll start to see that growth for every scholar. And then hopefully you can take the hope out of that statement and be they're going to do better. Or,
And I really like doing this because I can challenge, again, different groups.
Yeah.
So I can definitely work more one-on-one with certain scholars I think need the extra help, or others I think can challenge themselves by working on some the harder problems alone, and then I can check in with them. And really, I really liked doing this because it kind of also has them look at division in many different ways, not just kind of set problems.
One thing that Caitlin did around area and perimeter in the beginning of the year is she set up grids on the floor using these boxes and in the hallway. That could be a way to develop some conceptual understanding both ways of multiplication using area and perimeter, or if you, it would take a little more time to set it up.
Tape. what is that called?
Yeah.
Scotch tape.
Yeah.
The off-white like tape.
Yeah.
It's not
That's
masking
what
tape,
she
it's not
did.
duct tape. Yeah, I remember I was in there when she did that
That was
lesson.
really cool.
And I think that, one, it gets kids engaged and up and moving in math, and that's fun.
Yeah.
But like it's developing that conceptual knowledge rather than having it drawn there. You could say, hey, make me a shape that has an area of whatever it's going to be. So I think that that's something that where we're hopefully doing some vertical planning with other teachers. Mikey has a ton of hands-on activities that are working incredibly well. His scores were really high for the A1 retake, and then they stayed pretty high for the A2 initial test. So, I think that that's our goal our goal is looking like A1 was a struggle. A1 retake, we were like way better. A2 initial test picked up almost where A1 retest left off, and so our progression is now in that A2 should obviously the retest should be better, and then we hope we can pick up on A3 kind of at that level. And our goal is obviously to have every teacher, have every student at the 75th percentile or above, knowing that's a lofty goal.
What about for A3, like even within the standards I'm not hitting with an A2? Will A3 go, I'm just trying to think, will like A3, even if it's not really in that category, like, I guess I'm just worried about spending time reteaching division and not really getting to what I should for A3 and A4.
Yeah, and this year, that's something we're learning as a school. That's a great question. A3 will be made up of whatever you've taught.
Okay, that makes me
to
feel
that
better.
point.
Okay.
Eventually, potentially next year, if we have a full partnership with ANET, then we could end up with tests that have things on them that we haven't taught. That's up to us to make the data meaningful, right? If you didn't teach something, then you eliminate that from the score and you use what makes sense. Here, we're just not even going to put the scholars through taking 55 questions that they've never seen before. It just defeats it. It doesn't make any sense in our situation now. So we obviously want you to cover A3 stuff, but going back to your yearly plan, what they're still struggling with is a huge part of it. It's the main part. So we need them to have multiplication and division facts and fluency down when they leave 4th grade. And that means fractional material that comes after that and geometry material that comes after that can be pushed a little bit. And so I imagine that A3, some of it will be reteaching things that you did A1 and A2, hopefully for less time, though.
Okay.
And if it doesn't end up being less time, maybe you introduce 1 or 2 new standards.
Okay, cool.
And things like that, area and perimeter, it would be a different standard. I know it's from A1, but like picking up on that multiplication and division. And you'll see it with fractions when they introduce fractions. Like fractions is obviously a progression from understanding division. So hopefully we can introduce fractions as, an introduction and build off, the 6 months of multiplication and division. But yeah, like I told you, I mean, you and Caitlin have, I think, the hardest jobs in terms of, you have 2 enormous picture items in terms of Caitlin developing, introducing multiplication, and then trying to develop some fluency, and you hammering multiplication in, and then starting with division. And Will's job is obviously, he hopes that they know that while he introduces 9,000 other things. But it is our school's focus that multiplication and division absolutely have to be mastered, because without it, there's no chance for them to get anything else in your grade or in any future grade. So, it's hard to look at A3 and A4 and be like, 16 more standards. But I think at the end of the day, your kids will have success in 5th grade if they know how to multiply and divide, regardless of what the SAS tells us was supposed to happen this year.
Okay. And I've seen huge progress within multiplication.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
division too, but mostly, from the beginning to now.
Yeah.
I was real worried in the beginning, so
Yeah.
huge progress.
Yeah, and I appreciate I know you do a ton of work around math and helping your scholars. Sorry, you.
Oh.